talk about a side effect not always discussed when blended families break up. The primary relationship ends, but what happens to the bonds created with your former partner's children? Oftentimes, people grow to love their stepchildren as if they were their own. And here in California, you can actually file for legal visitation rights to see your ex's kids. So ladies, should you have to break up with your partner's children just because you grew apart as a couple?
You shouldn't have to, but...
You shouldn't.
You got the kids.
I do have the kids. I do have the kids, and I feel like sometimes, you know, you do bond with your partner's children. And I don't think just because you break up, you no longer get to see them. I mean, obviously, if the relationship was tumultuous and, you know, really bad, then of course you can't. But I feel like that bond, they shouldn't have to break up too if it's amicable. And that doesn't mean that you have to be there every time they see the kids. If the kids are old enough, they can meet at a park. They can go to lunch. But if it's a, you know, a younger child, you may have to be there or maybe have a family member there. But I don't think you should break up with the child too.
I agree. I think it's really difficult when you have one person that doesn't want the relationship to end and one does. And if it's the parent of the child that doesn't want the relationship to end, it can get tricky because while you're just trying to maintain this amazing relationship that you've built with the children, they can actually be using that sometimes to try to reel you back in until you don't leave or, you know what I mean? So that gets tricky.
Yeah, it has to be a healthy relationship, a healthy breakup. But I also feel like even if you're not married to the person, but you dated for so long and the kids have bonded. You gotta kind of honor a little bit of that. You can't just like break up and we never see each other again.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in a child's life every single day for so many years and then out of nowhere you're like, deuces. That just seems weird, but I think it does get difficult if the other parent doesn't make it that easy.
Exactly.
You know, like that's where
usually it's a breakup for a reason.
Yes.
And I just think about the kid. I think sometimes it's hard on the kid. I mean, even though that person may be out of their life, that's not their biological. And it's nice for us to sit back and go, yes, let's try to make visitation rights. But you know,
it gets
not
weird.
Everybody. I mean,
you know,
especially the moment you move on and you have a relationship, now that other person may be bitter and say, oh, you can't come, my kid can't come up to your house because now that new man is there. It gets really complicated.
And by law, the only person that can actually, you know, I mean, I know that California is trying to change some things, but by law, it's just the two biological parents. So you have to keep that in mind when you are getting close to someone else's child. That, you know, you may have to, you know, break up with that child too.
Well, then definitely a conversation needs to be had. With everybody involved, including both partners and the kid, to say it's not your fault, but we're no longer together, and I really hope you stay well, and let's stay in contact, maybe pen pals or whatever.
I never even knew that was a law. I honestly didn't until you just said that was a law.
Yeah, I never knew that either.
I never knew that.
I did not know that. And man, we thought that relationships with children were complicated enough because, you know, getting comfortable with that child or getting that other parent that's not in the relationship at all comfortable with you being around their child, that in itself can be complicated. And throughout those years, that may be tumultuous. That by the time you do exit the relationship, do you get what I mean? It's just like complication on top of complication.
Totally.
The one thing I do know about kids, they bounce back real quick.
Absolutely.
They forget about your ass so quick. On to the next.